morning. It's about 7:15 Saturday morning. Wanted to come on and make this video, kind of tell our story, let you know who we are. I'm gonna do it in one take, so it's not perfect. It's not perfect. You hear my kids come out, start saying good morning. Just part of the video. I guess we could sort of start at the beginning. Just kind of say how we were raised and the whole story. I'll start with me. I was raised in a little town, West Virginia. Mom, dad, one brother. Had a good childhood. Went pretty good. Grew up hunting, fishing, a little bit of foraging. Living pretty far back. It's a good childhood. Normal life for the most part. And I was about 18 and my parents kind of went through a traumatic thing and ended up getting divorced. Probably won't go into that in this video, but I guess if somebody would want to hear about it, I could, because stuff I've learned from it could probably help some people, because it's not something that's uncommon to go through. It's just what happened. But after that, I got a pretty good job offer in the oil and gas business and met my wife and started, dating and just starting our relationship, and we ended up getting married and having kids and more kids, and we ended up with 6 daughters. And that's the best thing that's ever happened, and probably the best decision we've ever made, because I'm not close with my family at all. So I'm glad to know that the girls will have somebody even after my wife and I are gone. But so we were just living life, sort of plugging along, normal. I had a really good job, made good money, and we just always had this yearning to live simple. I'm gonna go for a walk. Live simple, sort of live off grid. It was sort of Alaska. I'll get into that in a little bit. But, just we're stuck with the job. It was sort of too good of a job. It was kind of just an Appalachia job. I mean, there's other parts of the world, but the part of the oil and gas I was in was sort of here, the hot spot was. So just couldn't have the bravery to leave it and jump out and do something else, kind of cool. And then me with about a large percentage of the other portion of the company, there was a big sort of buyout and they let go most of the people, and it sort of rocked our world. But looking back, sort of the best thing that ever happened to us. And so from there, we sort of just started hustling, trying to do what we could. And I kind of known I had a problem with something, with some anxiety and that sort of thing, and just sort of struggled with it for a long time, and sort of started to grow there towards the last part of my career, and just, kind of got bad. So was laid off from that for about, I don't know, a year and a half maybe. Got a call from the owner of the company and wanted me to come back, and I did, and honestly I just couldn't do it. It was way too hard, just just couldn't do it mentally. You know, I really liked the job, and I feel like I was proficient in it, and it was really, really good money, but I couldn't do it. And my family is more important than the job, so I had to leave that and go back to another sort of warehouse job that I had, and did that for a while. It was okay. Hard work, midnight shift. So, excuse me, fast forward, within that warehouse job, I got a pretty good corporate job, and, you know, just same thing, just sort of struggled with it, you know, just, I don't know what it was. And we put our house up for sale shortly after that, and kind of the plan was to move to Alaska. That was our sort of solid plan. I mean, always a bit of a chance of staying here in West Virginia, but we weren't really sure. But kind of I guess it was a 90-10 rule, 90% Alaska, 10% here. And so as we sold the house, you know, eventually, I'd had to quit that warehouse job, or not the warehouse job, but the corporate job, just because it was, you know, and I don't mean it was just a little bit of anxiety in it. Excuse me. It wasn't the fact that the companies were doing anything to me. It was just, you know, I can go in more detail, I guess, if people want to hear about why I had it and sort of the issues that had it, but it kind of came to a head. I'll get back on the moving story in a minute, but it kind of came to a head, and I didn't want to be here anymore. And we'd been going to my grandfather's church for, taking a couple of breaks, but for a long time, like my whole life. And my mother-in-law and father-in-law went to a church about 45 minutes away, and we ended up going with them one day that my grandfather was out of town, and just visited there, and it just rocked her socks. And, you know, the devil just sort of, he saw what was happening. So excuse me, I had really kind of hit my level of what I could deal with, you know, at that job, and I felt like a loser and just couldn't do it anymore. And I didn't want to be here. And, you know, God saved me from that. And, you know, Covenant Church in Fairmont, it saved my life. You know, God did, but just the people there and the things we've learned. And, you know, I was instilled with a really good basis, but that place just fine-tuned us, and just one of the best things that's ever happened to us in our life. But after that, you know, we eventually sold our house, and so it sort of was the wrong time of the year to go to Alaska. Looking back, it was just sort of God's plan. But so we decided, you know, we sold it about, I think, August. So it was getting ready to snow up in Alaska shortly thereafter. You know, I'm getting all this advice from my buddy up at Like the Oranges, Josh. That's his YouTube channel, but he's a great dude. He's up in North Pole, Alaska. Great friend. But, you know, just from talking to him and doing research, just it would have been a bit risky to go there then. So our plan was just, you know, we had a couple other states in mind. You know, we were always sort of looking here for property, and, you know, it was always rather crap land or just too expensive, or just end up being in some goofy HOA in the mountain somehow. So we went to North Carolina, and that was more of a vacation, just to, you know, decompress, take the girls on a bit of a trip. And so we bought a camper and we pulled it down there and stayed for a while, and had to come back. My mother-in-law was in the hospital. Came back here, and then we went to Missouri, which had always been sort of a middle of the road state. You know, I knew it was hot there, and I knew that the tornadoes, which I'm deathly afraid of tornadoes. I was in one as a little kid in Florida whenever my family lived there, and it just scared me to death. So we went there, and beautiful place, super hot, and the tornadoes, you know, you talk to people and it's like they don't think it's a big deal, and I get it, because you know it might not happen, but just if I'm going to go there and invest money in building a house and a lot of money into solar, I just don't want to, you know, have some tornado or some straight line wind ratio thing come and blow it all down. And the biggest thing that probably, I mean, it's going to sound stupid, but we got there and we'd heard about the ticks and didn't know, you know, didn't think it was as bad as people said, and they were as bad as people said. There was so many ticks there, and talking to some of the people, you know, again, they said it wasn't a big deal, or whether it wasn't a big deal, they never had one, or they knew somebody with whatever that disease is, you can't eat red meat and it doesn't go away. So we we looked at a couple pieces of property there in great state. I mean, it was beautiful, you know, good for homesteading, pretty good for off-grid, real good for homeschooling. But the last place we stayed, well, the second last place we stayed, we had sort of stopped this little state campground and looked around, and I'm a big trout fisherman, and sorry about the sun, and I saw this sign for like trophy trout or something, and so the girls and I went for a walk, and it's just about like here, it's thick and, you know, pretty and everything, and we're walking through this thicket and see the beautiful stream, because I mean, it's, the streams in Missouri are gorgeous, you know, all the springs around and water's ice cold. It's just awesome. We get back to the camper and I tell my wife that I just think this is awesome. You know, this place is beautiful. We might have been wrong about it, and just happened to look on my knee, and there's about 40 of these little ticks called seed ticks on my knee. And I had taken all the older girls, so 5 of my oldest daughters, with me on that walk, and got to looking at them, and there was, between all of us, probably hundreds if not thousands of ticks on us. So we're all freaking out. This, you know, this campground doesn't have facilities for showers and all that, and we probably had a full tank of water in our camper, so we, you know, we do what it says online, and we take Scotch tape and we're just patting everybody down. And we did that for like 3 hours, and that kind of put the nail in the head for Missouri. So left Missouri, and we had always had our eye on the UP in Michigan, and super beautiful place, and I won't spend as much time about that because it's really simple why we didn't go there. But left Missouri, went up there, and it was beautiful. That's probably one of the most beautiful, one of my favorite places I've ever been. We've traveled pretty extensively, but